Hello and welcome back to the When You're Podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today we're talking about when you're taking your first sip of a cold drink. Guys, summer it's only getting hotter, all right? The days are only getting hotter from here. I don't know what else to possibly do to cool down than with a nice, refreshing cold beverage of some sort, okay? Now, everybody can take your pick, you know what I mean? I myself, I like water, lemonade, you know what I mean? I like the real sugary stuff, you know what I mean? That real kid stuff, you know what I'm saying? Just like the fruity, delicious, like fruit punch flavors and lemonades and stuff like that, like sugary drinks. That's like my alternative to water, you know what I mean? If I'm really gonna splurge, you know what I mean? Now, some people, they like more of the bubbly stuff. They like more of that water. I mean, not water. What am I talking about? I mean, soda. They like more of that soda. I think I was like thinking about sparkling water. All right. But yeah, people like some of that. People like a nice beer, or how about some wine? You know what I mean? Anything you can really get. You know what I'm saying? But for me, it's just that I feel like nothing beats that refreshing feeling when you get like a cold water bottle, or maybe you get like a glass, a nice glass with some ice, and then you pour some water into it, and you kind of like see the ice cracking a little bit from the liquid, from the water, and just, you know what I mean? It's slowly dissolving into it, and then take a gulp of it, or a sip of it, whatever. You take a gulp or a sip of it, and you feel that immediate refreshment. You know what I mean? It's like your body temperature goes down, your thirst has been quenched. It feels like you can take on anything. There's this certain level of like rejuvenation that happens when you do that, and it feels good. And I don't know, I feel like that's kind of like I don't want to say it's like a universal feeling. Sometimes we don't really recognize it. It's one of those things where it's so that we just kind of are just like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, thank goodness I had some cold water to cool me down or whatnot. But for me, what I'm trying to think of here is that first sip is all that really, really matters. You know what I mean? If you could always get the first sip or the first taste or the first bite of something, and you could prolong it over and over and over again, then it's like, man, this is what it's all about. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of what else is like you take the first bite of, or you eat first. And I'm trying to think of, I was going to say like something sweet, because sometimes people, they eat something really sweet after the first bite, and they're like, wow, it's really good, but it's really sweet. So they have to have like a little bit of it. Whereas for me, I like, in an abundance, but maybe that's because like over and over and over again, I'm trying to like feed that, fuel or whatever, that craving of like sweetness. I don't know what the right word of it is. It's like the difference between, when you eat like your first potato chip or something. You know what I'm saying? Like when you take that first crunch of it, you know what I mean? Or like when you get what's it called? The first ever, I'm trying to think here. It's like a pickle, right? I remember this one time you eat a pickle the first time, and it's like, man, that was the amazing pickle. That was like the first time, you know what I mean? The crunch, the flavor, all of it is like, it's really delicious. You know what I mean? If you don't like pickles, you know what I mean? I'm trying to like find something that everybody likes here, right? But then you have like another pickle, and it's like, yeah, it's good, but it doesn't beat the first one that, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not as crazy as the first time, you know what I mean? The first time is always so special, so strong. And for me, I think there's definitely something there. There's definitely something important in trying to hold on to, or to treat all of the moments like that first time you experienced it or the first time you tasted that thing, right? So I think a food that everybody can like think about is pizza, right? It's like you've had pizza before, you've tried it at least, whether you're vegan or vegetarian or, carnivore or just love Italian food, right? Or just love like pizza in general, you know what I mean? It's like you've tried pizza in some way, shape, or form. And pizza is just like that. The first time, if I could go back in time and remember the first time I had pizza, I'm sure my mind, the flavors, it would have blown my mind, you know what I mean? And I think every time that I've eaten pizza since then has just been like, oh yeah, it's pizza, it's pizza, it's pizza. And then eventually I got to the point where I was like critiquing it or being like, it's just this place or that place, or it's not as good, right? Like we start nitpicking and start like hating on it. Now there are very good reasons for that, you know what I mean? Sometimes they just load it full of chemicals or they didn't cook it properly and, things like that happen, you know what I mean? I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that like when you take that first memory of when you eat pizza and compare it to now, there is a big difference. And that difference is in the time, right? When I eat pizza now, I still really love it. I think it's still delicious. It's one of my favorite foods out there. But at the same time, it's like, I think to myself, I was like, I couldn't eat this every day. I could definitely I definitely could, but it's like, it's not healthy for me. And there are other foods to try. So it's kind of like that weird thing where it's like, I could do that or I could do something else. So for me, there's like always another alternative. You know what I mean? There's always another slice of pizza. There's always something else out there. And I feel like whenever we have that opportunity to, what's it called? Enjoy that pizza again, or to like come around to it, you're just so relieved. You're so, that's not the right word. I think it's like you're so not understanding. You get deep into entranced. Is that it? It's just kind of like you're all about that one thing and you enjoy it. In that moment, you enjoy it, right? Like sometimes I'm like, at least I think, a lot of people are like, oh, so you get like, you sit down to eat and then you get your phone out or you watch something on TV and you need it to like enjoy your meal. You know what I mean? It's like you put on your favorite TV show or a movie or whatever, and you do that so that way you can like enjoy your food. But that's not, you're not really focusing on that. You're focusing on, what's it called? You're focusing on like two things at once. And it's like, can I really enjoy this meal if I'm like paying attention to the TV? And I feel like what I'm trying to get at here, or what I'm trying to punch, or what I'm trying to like hold on to and grasp here is that if we treat every single moment like our first sip of cold water on a hot day, something that's like so vital, we'll appreciate or we'll enjoy that moment a lot more. And when we repeat that over and over and over again, we start to value things like the food that we eat on a daily basis that sometimes we may overlook. You know what I mean? We overlook certain flavors that we have become so accustomed to, like pizza. It's got to be cheese, tomato sauce. The bread has to be perfect on the bottom. Has to give that good, has like a good crisp to it, or like a certain fluffiness or chewiness. The bread has to be like this way, or stuffed cheesy crust, or with pepperonis on it. And sometimes we're just kind of like, we need all of these things. We understand the flavor of them, but then once we eat them, we're kind of just like, yeah, it's pizza. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? We just kind of shrug it off as like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. It's just pizza. It's like, it's not a big deal. It's not like gourmet stuff, but it's like, it's still flavor. It's still happening. It's still right now. It's still enjoyable. And sometimes we're like, it's just something I ate. And then we forget. I always see people posting foods and recipes and stuff. Like, I'm going to make this salmon. Or, you know what I mean? They're like, I'm going to make this herb-crusted salmon with asparagus, and that's going to be the meal for today. And then, like, of course they, record and they document it so they can always go back to it, right? But my point being, or like us every other day people, I'm just kind of like, you're not even going to remember that meal. You're not even going to remember, like, why are you doing that? And I was really upset. I was like, they posted on like their Instagram and stuff like that. I'm like, you're not even, you know what I mean? It's like, just enjoy it. Why are you sharing it with me? Like, why do I care that you ate that really expensive dinner, or that pasta, or that salad, or whatever it is, or that bread? Like, why do I care? Why should I get in on it? And then I realized, I was like, why am I so upset by that? It's like, it's just food. It looks good. It's probably a great restaurant. I would like to eat there too, maybe someday. But then I was just like, I think I'm upset is because they're like, when I get food brought to me, I eat it. I don't take a picture of it. But now I'm starting to figure out, or maybe I'm starting to see, is that like, they're capturing a really delicious moment. They're capturing that thing so that they can remember it, because it's hard for them to maybe grasp onto it on their own, if that makes sense, right? Like, you have a very fun night out with your friends, and it's like super fun, and everybody's getting along, and it was like the best night ever, and nobody took a picture. And now you're kind of like, oh man, I wish we recorded this moment, or we had a photo of that. You know what I mean? Which, sometimes does or doesn't happen, but I'm just saying, it's like, sometimes we don't capture the moment. And that often happens. And then instead you just have to remind yourself, And oftentimes when it's like really good moments, they stay stuck with you. But food, it's kind of like, yeah, I ate it, I tried it, and it was okay, it was whatever, you know what I mean? It was just food, right? And then that's the part that's like bothers me, or like would get under my skin a little bit, is like, why do I care? It's like, it's not about me caring or not. It's about them showing off what they are eating. And so I was like, okay, I could take pictures of my stuff too, but it wouldn't be fulfilling to me unless I really enjoyed the meal. You know what I'm saying? And that gets back to the first sip of your cold drink. When you take that first sip, or gulp or whatever, you know what I mean? When you take that first swig of whatever you like to drink, just imagine if you felt that way every single time you drank something. Like, just the sheer urgency, have you seen those survival shows, or maybe like The Walking Dead, or something where it's like they have to exert, you know what I mean? They have to like fight for survival, and then they get like some water, and then they gulp it down. They're like, oh my gosh, I needed that. You know what I mean? Like, just like it becomes something that you need, and then eventually you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was a good one. Like, what I'm trying to get at here is, I feel like if we hold on to that moment more, time and time again, it's like the repetitive process of feeling that way makes us enjoy things a lot more, And sometimes it's kind of like tiring or stupid to do that, because it's just like, it's just water. Like, yes, it's needed, but it's like, it's just water. But at the same time, it's repetition and consistency and any kind of like a routine makes you feel good about yourself, because it's like, I'm consistent. I've been really good at just drinking water, or like a certain amount of water. Like some people are like, I drink 1 liter a day, or some people drink a whole gallon a day. You know what I mean? They drink so much water, and then day after day after day of just trying to drink it every single time. It's like, yeah, it's perfect. It's necessary. I need the water. I have to drink it. My body craves it, you know? And then after a while, it just kind of like, yeah, it doesn't really, you know, I don't care about it like I used to. It's not a big deal to me that I drink this water. It's not a big deal that I just drink that lemonade ice cold with, you know, whatever I was eating, right? Like, I just want to focus on that feeling of nourishment and refreshing, you know what I mean? So that way, time and time again, I can always be like, this is refreshing, this feels good, I enjoy this feeling. And just making it known to myself and putting it out there that I feel at my best, you know, when I drink that water, or I drink soda, or I drink this, right? Like, and then we can fully appreciate it, instead of looking at it with maybe like, man, I shouldn't have done that, or this, or whatever, you know what I mean? That's when things start to go bad. You feel bad about yourself, you know? And I don't like that. So now I think it's just kind of like focusing on what makes that moment so special. And it's because it's needed. Water is something that we need. Food is something that we need to survive, right? What about other things? What about other... I was going to say like haircuts, but like I guess not everybody needs their haircut, or like maybe they grow it out and it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. I'm trying to think. But grooming is like, I guess, a part of things, huh? What about... You know, I see a lot of video game talk, or kind of like maybe some sort of debate, or like, okay, there are certain video games that come out or that happened already, and it just feels like a repetitive process. Like, okay, like the Call of Duty games, right? Like you're shooting. That's not brand new. They haven't done anything crazy. Or maybe Fortnite or whatever, right? It's the same process of like, you're shooting a gun, you're doing this, and you're trying to kill other people. It's just that the campaigns or the events that they do are fun. I don't know the exact thing. Listen, all I'm trying to get at here is that, do you remember the first time you were like so impressed by a video game? Like really impressed? I remember the first time I played the Nintendo Wii. That was amazing. I was playing tennis, and I was playing baseball and boxing. It was all so... It felt so innovative, and it felt so fun, and it felt like tiring to play like games like Just Dance, and it was so fun to play games like, you know, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, like games that made you active at home, right? Like in your living room, you just clear out some space and you could play, you could do bowling, you could do all kinds of different games and sports, and like it was so much fun. And like Mario Kart, where you have to like, it feels like you're turning the wheel, but it's actually the remote. Like it all fit, you know what I mean? And then when the Nintendo Switch came out, it was also innovative because you could take it off of the console, you could put it back, you had like your own tiny little screen, you could like plug your headphones into it, you could, you know, there's also motion capture, you could, you know, take one piece of the controller and then you could remove that and play with only that and give the other piece to your friend. You guys could play together, right? Like it was innovative. But then now, years later, the Nintendo Switch has been out for forever, and people are like, it needs to be updated, it needs to be upgraded. The characters suck, the gameplay is repetitive. We've already been through all of this. And the same can be said for like other consoles or other places out there. But for me, I'm just trying to focus on like how everybody's just kind of, yeah, but they didn't really do anything different this time. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, why is that such a bad thing? It's like we keep on pushing and pushing back without like being like, but this is just what we need. This is just what it is. You know what I'm saying? I actually agree with these people, all right, from like a video game perspective of like, yeah, the gameplay should change, or, you know, they definitely should increase their graphics on the Switch and whatnot. Like, they definitely need some sort of an update and have to bring up their quality of products. But what I'm aiming towards, or what I'm trying to like pick at with like the video games in comparison to like that cold drink when you're taking that first sip, is that like, now for me, everything is like, is it the Nintendo Wii or not? You know what I mean? It's like, is it that innovation that I like? You know what I mean? That sets it apart, that makes it different, that makes it fun for everybody to enjoy and to play. And for the most part, it is. I mean, I enjoy playing video games, and it hasn't soured my taste on it. It's just that now that they've kind of moved away from that kind of active video game playing style. Like, it used to be the hottest thing. They used to do the Xbox came out with like that Kinect, Kinetic? Was that what it's called? It was like their competition against the Nintendo Wii. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember what it was called. It was like kinetic energy. It was like Connect, or is like Kinetic or something like that. And essentially it was like you just move around and you play the game. That's how it works. And now I guess they're trying to redo that with VR. They like put the video game on your eyes, and then you move around and you play as the character. That's the future of video gaming. That's going to be the big Wii, the next big thing that they're going to try to flesh out and make possible. But overall, what I feel like is happening in video games in comparison to like us taking for granted or not, you know, becoming numb to that first sip of like cold water when we desperately need it, is that like we just become bored with all of these games. You know what I mean? It's like, man, it's like there's nothing new, or they're not doing anything different, or the story is great, but they didn't change the gameplay, or all of this other stuff. And I'm just like, come on. You know what I mean? It's like, you still gotta appreciate it at least. And like, I appreciate it, but it's just that like, it could have been so much this or that. And I'm just like, all right, you make some fair points, but it's like, it doesn't feel like you're enjoying the drink. You're not appreciating. You're not, you know, recognizing that you're getting what you need, what's filling up the bar. You know what I mean? But I guess those are different ways of it. You know what I mean? One is a lot more subjective, and one is more biologically based. Like, you need water, and that refreshingness is like, it really just makes your body a lot better. You know, and I guess the video game is more of like a mental thing. We have changed so much. We've evolved so in a much grander way that it's like, if things don't meet our expectations, or if things don't flow or happen the way that we expect them to from a narrative perspective or storyline, that it's kind of like, it's kind of like basic or whatever, or it sucks. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of like something that goes against it. you can't treat everything like it's the best drink in the world. Like, I guess it's all opinion based, right? Drinks that I might not like are drinks that you like, and then we have differences about that. I don't know. Let me think. Probably the best example of like, I was gonna say like movies. It's like if they don't create a complex villain that you can understand their motivations and stuff. It's like, oh, they didn't do the villain right, or he's just a basic villain and blah 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 blah. And that I agree with. I'm just like, yeah, they definitely should flesh out the character. Like that's perfect and all well. But then when I go back and I rewatch like certain TV shows and things that I used to watch as a kid, and the villain is very generic and lame and just like, yeah, he's gonna die. Like, you know what I mean? Who cares about him? But when I was a kid, I was just like, I was in love. I'm not in love, but I was just like, I thought it was so cool. I thought it was so evil, so menacing. You know what I mean? Where did that excitement go? It's just because it's like they keep on telling the same story over and over again. It just feels like, yeah, that's what happens. So you just got to enjoy it, right? And that's what's basically what I'm trying to say is that like when you take that first sip of it, it's like you've really got to enjoy it. You really got to appreciate it and just take it every second of it just to be like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is what I needed. This is exactly what it just makes me feel so much better. It just like brought me to life, you know what I'm saying? In a way that it didn't before. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of other things in my life that maybe I've kind of brushed past or taken for granted, or maybe not taken for granted, but I've kind of become numb to, like other certain experiences. I think an experience that I never feel like I didn't enjoy or didn't feel like I was a part of it are like roller coasters or amusement park rides. Like, I love going on those things. I love going on a roller coaster or like just something like that. You know what I mean? I really enjoy that stuff. And every time you go on it, no matter who you are, you know what I mean? You always get like this adrenaline rush and you really enjoy it because every dive that it takes, every uptick, the suspense, every turn, every spin, every down and up and left and right, it just takes you on like this physical journey, and that's what makes it awesome. That's what makes it so cool. And then, I've never met anybody who's become numb to roller coasters. Although I do see those videos of like the people like looking back at their friends pretending to be uninterested in the roller coaster, and maybe they are, but it's just like they're trying to make it seem like casual, but I know on the inside they're like, that was great, I love that, you know what I mean? There's like, they definitely would go crazy on that, so they're just like looking back and just being like, I find those videos so funny because I'm like, that's exactly what I'm talking about, is that like you become numb or you don't care about what's going on anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, come on, you're literally going down like 10 feet on this roller coaster. You're spinning in circles and you can't even like show a little bit of like joy or anything. Like, I just find that so funny. But anyways, that's kind of the focus of this episode, is the like, there are certain things that you just have to find joy in. And when you do that, you'll really appreciate the moment, because otherwise you'll start to like miss those little details. You know what I mean? Now, sometimes we miss them because things are going on with us. You know what I mean? I didn't realize that I was having the best steak in the world because I was focusing on I was focusing on this issue or this problem, or I'm running out of money, or my ex-girlfriend is doing this, or my ex-boyfriend is doing this. Like, you can't focus, you can't get, about it. But then when you take that step back and you just focus on yourself and like what your needs are and the things that you like, that's when you can finally like appreciate or understand, or maybe even kind of like say to yourself, like, I know exactly who I am and what I like. I know what moments matter to me and how I can get those moments back. I know how to give myself joy. You know what I'm saying? I know what I can do to make my life interesting and fun and cool, because these are the things that I like. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's just basic routine, like having a meal plan, or, figuring out, okay, what am I going to do today? Or what's something that I want to try? You know what I mean? So at the end of it all, when you're taking your first sip or gulp or whatever of a cold drink, enjoy it. Enjoy that moment, because it's got to feel pretty damn good. And I want you to look at the moment, look at yourself, and realize, like, this feels good. And I appreciate being here, being able to enjoy it, and not worrying about anything else. Just about myself and my needs and who I am. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.